You had a very timely guest on your program. You sat down with Maria Corina Machado just 3 weeks after she won the Nobel Peace Prize. And in my understanding, she's in hiding. You did this interview with her from hiding.
Yes, it's a remote interview. She has been giving some interviews since she got the Nobel Peace Prize 3 weeks ago. And from her point of view, that is a very welcome international spotlight on the issue of Venezuela, which had really receded from international attention in many ways since the election that Nicolás Maduro is widely understood to have stolen from Maria Corina Machado and fellow opposition figures 15 months ago. So the Nobel Peace Prize put the spotlight back on it. And of course, then, since the strikes on the boats in the Caribbean that the Trump administration says are carrying drugs, since those began 2 months ago, and now we have this massive U.S. military buildup in the Caribbean, the biggest since 1989. So this is perhaps a particularly timely interview because we dropped the episode this morning just as this reporting started to emerge on whether land strikes will be next.
And she specifically address the amping up of actions on Venezuela. Let's actually play a little snippet of it, and then we'll come back to you. This, again, is Maria Corina Machado, a Venezuelan opposition leader and 2025 Nobel Peace Prize laureate.
I believe that the increase in pressure and the escalation that's taking place is the only way to force Maduro to understand that it's time to go. And those that still support him, which are not very few at this moment, the top brass of the military, financial enablers, front men that are making huge, obscene fortunes with the hunger of our people, better understand that, time is running off. And I believe that this escalation is the last opportunity for those that still support Maduro to understand that they need to put aside, take all support away from him and Maduro himself to understand that this is the last chance to truly facilitate a peaceful and orderly transition, which is what we want.
That's Maria Corina Machado, Venezuelan opposition leader and 2025 Nobel Peace Prize laureate on the Mishal Husain show. Mishal here with us right now. The idea of Maduro actually having very little support among the top brass, is that... Did she provide evidence?
You kind of made a face.
Yeah, she doesn't back that up. And this has been quite a frequent refrain. And I can understand why she is putting it that way, painting the regime as on the brink of collapse. But elsewhere in the interview, she says 80% of the military are now against him. We have no idea if that could be true or not. But this answer she gives about escalation is the only way for Maduro to essentially see that the writing is on the wall. This was her answer when I put this point about land strikes being next, and does she support the idea of strikes on the territory of Venezuela, when I put that question directly to her. I think it's clear that she supports the US military escalation in the region. She thinks that this is very valuable pressure. She doesn't go as far as to say, I want a military intervention, but she dreams of a different Venezuela, and perhaps she feels that with the Trump administration's attitude and attention in the last couple of months, she and people who feel that way are closer than ever before to that goal.
I think about South America as a whole and how U.S. actions in Venezuela would be perceived across the region.
Yeah. I mean, of course, there's a long and very troubled history.
Exactly.
Over a century of U.S. military intervention in these countries. She, in so many ways, she echoes the language of the Trump administration when she's talking not only about her country, but the region. Not only narco-terrorism, she uses the exact phrase that administration figures do, but when she says words to the effect that America's stability and security depends on the Western Hemisphere. This is an echo of the Monroe Doctrine and the fact that this whole region is within America's purview, and that its security is all linked. So she is portraying her country in the United States and others in the region as part of a continuum.
I'm curious, too, though, after she got the Nobel Peace Prize, of course, President Trump was hoping to get it. What is the communication between the two, or with the Trump administration?
Well, she certainly had that call straight after and she dedicated her prize partly to him.
Right.
And I'm sure she was trying to keep him on side and think this is a moment where the US is engaged in my country. I don't want this moment to be the one that drives the president away. I asked her particularly about her communications with the administration and with Secretary Rubio. she said, of course, I've been in touch with him and my team is in touch with his team. The extent of those day-to-day communications, she wouldn't say. But I also asked, what are you doing, right? What are you doing within the country now? And she said, are you going to call people out on the streets? And she said, people will come out when the moment is right. So I think, in a sense, from her perspective, there's everything to play for in these days.
I'm not going to ask you to make a prediction, but you might be speaking to the next leader of the country.
Well, she certainly would be the president of Venezuela today had Maduro not blocked her from standing. And then, as the opposition has very credibly put forward their evidence that they won that election, had he not stolen the election from them. So she said, of course, I'm interested in becoming president. But technically, if Maduro was to fall, then Edmundo Gonzalez, who was elected the president 15 months ago, would be the person in place. But she's a very brave person. There's no doubt about it. She is enduring isolation and separation from family members who are in exile. She is living in hiding. She cannot leave. I don't even know if it's her home. Wherever she is, she cannot be seen outside because of the risk of arrest. And she was briefly detained when she appeared in public 9 months ago.
Does she stay in the country, just very briefly?
She is in Venezuela. That is our understanding. She is in Venezuela. Most other opposition figures are in exile. But yes, she continues to bear considerable risk.